This is the Unstuck movement. These are true testimonies of breakthrough. I am your host, Rob Z. This platform was created to give you true, real examples of people who have experienced amazing breakthroughs, to let you know that it's possible for you also. Today, we have Debora J. Hollick with us on the platform. Debora, I'd like to jump right in with a question as we get this episode started. My question for you: you've created an incredible platform of WOW. The WOW, I love this acronym. It's so good. Wonder, openness, and wisdom. So what was the wow moment for you that had the biggest impact on your life?
Well, hi, Rob. Thanks for having me today. The wow moment for me that has had one of the biggest impacts in my life. I've had many wow moments, but this particular one was I was doing my gratitude journal one morning, looking out at the beautiful ocean in the area where I lived and watching the ferry come in. And all of a sudden, I heard, "Live life in wow." And I kind of looked around and I I was by myself. So who was talking to me? So I take that to be spirit and guides and angels and whatever anybody wants to call what is acceptable to them. And I hear, "Live life in wow, wonder, openness, and wisdom."
Hmm.
So I say, "Okay, and you're going to do events," they say. I say, "Me? Events?" And that's where it started. It started, and within about 15 minutes, my hand was just writing, and I all of a sudden had this plan to do these events. And I just basically said, "Okay, well, you'll have to give me direction as to how you want this to go and which way you want it to evolve, because this is all news to me." And I tend to say, "You guys." That's how I kind of talk to my angels and spirits, and and they seem to like to answer. So then we had that wonderful experience throughout the world called the pandemic, and I say, "Okay, now how am I supposed to do events?" Because these were supposed to be in-person events. And they said, "Oh, you'll write a book." Me? I'm going to write a book. So I ended up writing an anthology with 14 wonderful humans and have compiled some wonderful, uplifting stories that are wonderful testimonies of breakthrough. So that's how it all came about.
Amazing. So that's really interesting that it was all kind of in that moment and it kind of just came to you. So, okay, I'm very curious as to what you were doing before this that led you into this place. Just real quick, before we get into anything else, this is the Unstuck movement, right? So this platform was created to help you find breakthrough, and the name is all, and it's all in the title, Unstuck. So we've been stuck in certain places in our lives. We have to have movement in our life to get unstuck. One of the things that I always talk about when I work with people is this acronym WMNNMW, which is we move now, no matter what. Action, taking action. We move now, no matter what. This platform is sponsored by the Connected Leaders Academy. Check out connectedleadersacademy.com. Today, Debora Hollick is here, award-winning speaker, international best-selling author, expert in boosting productivity through practical strategies. She helps businesses and professionals achieve remarkable results by shifting their mindset and embracing the power of words. Yes, embracing the power of words. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. It is so true, and that's such a wonderful way just to dive into this, because the words that were spoken over you is something that you probably said wow whenever it happened, I'd imagine, and you've implemented those into your life. What were you doing before this? Before you got these words, what were you doing?
You mean for a career?
Yes. Yeah. What was like your career like? What was your life like? Was it something that led to make this make sense, or were you doing something that was totally different from what you're doing now?
Well, I've always been a very spiritual person. And so it's not uncommon for me to get messages and receive them and act accordingly as best I can. One of the chapters I've written in a book is called "Listen to the Whispers or Get the 2x4." And I've had some whispers that have actually turned into audible loud voices because I wasn't listening. So I've learned over the years that it's a really good idea to listen to those little things. And I've opened myself up to that. And I'm a real believer that, intuition is something, it's a gift we all have, everybody. It doesn't matter. People want to, categorize us. So I've been in sales and marketing forever, training. I'm a sales trainer. Um, and I've done sales and marketing for a good majority of my life. And so I've always used my intuition in those uh, businesses. And it's just, evolved into something more. And when COVID hit, I lost 100% of my business, 100% of my income. Within 1 hour,
Wow.
it was gone. So one has to learn to pivot. And so to me, you have to listen to what's being presented to you next. And that's how sort of all this came about. Now, I did get this message before COVID hit, but the change that I had to make once COVID did hit and I lost my income, I had to pivot to doing something different. And that's when I really started doing most of the writing. I had written, a couple of poems and a couple of articles here and there before, but that's when I started to write chapters in other people's anthologies. And I wrote for a magazine for over a year, a couple magazines, actually, some different articles. And then, like I say, I get the message that I'm supposed to do my own anthology, and it's called Live Life in Wow and Nuggets of Wonder, Openness, and Wisdom. So it's evolved into that. And now I'm hoping that we're going to be starting this movement so that we get people thinking that way.
I love the wow concept just because this is something that a mentor had taught me before, and I stick to this, like saying wow instead of it's like being fascinated instead of frustrated, because we can be frustrated by so many different things in life, but we can also choose to be fascinated. And how much differently would we look at life if we chose to be fascinated by things that might look like problems instead of being frustrated by them? So when I hear you say wow and wonder, openness, wisdom, right? So looking at the world in a state of wonder is like, wow, because it really is. I mean, I think we spend so much of our time in routine that this I'm gonna speak for me. I spend so much of my time in routine that I miss out on the wonder in life, because God created an incredible world and we miss it, right? Because we can be so caught up in our day-to-day lives. Openness, being open is so, you have to be open with intention and direction, right? But openness is such an amazing trait to have, because when you're open, you are able to receive so much more, and you're so much more comes to you, right? So you said about that, the whispering, right? And you said about the 2x4, the whispering is happening all the time, but usually either we aren't paying attention and totally miss it, or we might be paying attention and hear it but ignore it because we're like, wow, well, that's not me. Because the things that we're called to usually are things that are outside of our comfort zone, that don't make sense to us, which is why we have to lean on God to help us to we have to lean on him to help us grow into those things we've been called to. So I guess my next question to you is going to be, when you were called to this, obviously you did not feel qualified, as you said at the beginning, but I can tell over the past number of years you've been being trained in being qualified to the calling that you've been called to. Has that been the process that you've been going through?
Pretty much. The more we do something that is out of our comfort zone in the beginning, is you develop that confidence, and then the more people read what you've written, or and express that they've liked it, that gives you more confidence, right? And when you can look at, I believe there's power in words, written, spoken, and even unspoken. There's many unspoken words that are felt, and in by way of emotion. And so when you can do right and people respond, and that it's helped even just one person, that one person receive value, oh, for me, that just makes my heart sing. And
Hmm.
I say wow all the time. I think sometimes people would like me to stop saying wow because it's probably my favorite word. And I say it all the time. And I believe that there's an expression or word for wow in, I believe, every language. Now, I have not researched that, so please don't anybody say, how do you know that for sure? I don't. But I'm going to believe that because I love the word wow and the expression that it offers.
Well,
And I want to help others.
when something is like a revelation to you or catches you off guard and is amazing, you make a noise, right? So you might not say wow, but you'll be like wow, or I just said wow. You'll say whoa or ah, or you make an expression, you make a sound because it's like they would use the term, mind blowing, like it blew my mind, like that sort of thing. That's what the wow to me is, and this whole concept that you're saying, which isn't a concept, it's just the truth that our words have so much power. And this is something I've been spending a lot of time on myself lately, is really paying attention to the words that I'm speaking. And like you said, especially the unspoken ones. And for me, those unspoken words are the thoughts. So the thoughts that we're speaking to ourselves, those have a heck of a lot of meaning and a lot more than we realize. And so when we can take captive those thoughts and direct them in a wow sort of way, direct them in a wow, a wonderness, an openness, and direct them towards wisdom, that's life changing and also life giving. Who were you before all of this? So before wow came to you, um, were you the kind of person that was very open? Were you the kind of person that was saying wow to everything, or were you somebody else?
No, I said wow a lot. I'm a pretty much a, half full, half glass half full person, even more than half full. And I try to find the positive in all situations. It's hard. It's really easy to find the positive in the good stuff. You win the lottery tomorrow, you can find the positive,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and you experience some things where, as I said, I didn't listen to the whispers sometimes, and I certainly got wow moments and wow experiences. But as I look back on those now, it's given me something that I can share with other people. And even though some of it was like literally life threatening, um, it's a way for me now to say to people through my stories and my experiences of wow moments that it pays to pay attention,
Hmm.
have intention and attention, I like to say to people.
Oh, have intention and attention. I love that. And okay, so it pays to pay attention. I'm also of the believer too, when you pay attention. So paying could mean money or it could mean time, but it's like investment, right? So the more I invest in something, the more I'm going to pay attention to it. And it always pays off when I pay attention. So I love that, the attention and the intention. How specifically, some practical ways do you live life wow? So what does it look like practically for you to be living your life with wonder, openness, and wisdom?
Well, I do believe in gratitude and appreciation, and I like to express that. I like to help people pivot their thoughts when they are expressing to me what's going on in their lives. I don't believe in allowing people to have uh, too long a pity party. And I don't like to allow myself to have too long a pity party. And we all get them, we all have them. But if we make them mini pity parties, we're not attracting more of that to us, because the more we talk, and I'm going to give you this example. If you look at what's going on in the world, what are people focused on? They're focused on the war on drugs, for instance. And what are we getting more of?
More
More of
drugs,
it.
more
We're
different
focused
kinds, stronger
on,
ones.
yeah, terrible politicians. People are focused on that. What are we getting more of?
More
My
terrible
whole life,
politicians.
whole adult life, I've focused on uh, not gaining weight. Guess what I got?
Mm.
So I really believe that we have to switch. And when we take our situations, good, bad, and the ugly, and we find that wow, okay, what is the wonder in that situation? When I got the audible voices, not even for just myself, but through my stepfather, not to have a certain surgery in my life, but I went ahead and didn't listen and had it anyway and got a life-threatening infection. I found the wow in that, because the wonder was, okay, Deborah, you were not just given this information in thought form. Your stepfather said to you, don't have the surgery. It's not going to be good like the last one. And I still didn't listen. I made every excuse. Oh, the surgical team is all assembled. It's all ready for tomorrow. I can't do that. Somebody else could have had that spot and been relieved of their pain. No, I have to do it. No, I didn't have to do it. And I shouldn't have done it, but I did. And I'm grateful to say that I don't seem to have any more of that infection. However, they do tell me it could pop up at any time. So I'm cautious now. So what's the wonder in that? The wonder is you got the message and you didn't listen. What did it open me up to? It opened me up to listening even more. And what's the wisdom in that? I'm going to encourage every person I can possibly come across and impact in any way to listen to the wisdom, listen to my experience and other people's experience, and find the wisdom in it, and learn from others' errors.
Oh yeah, learn from other people's errors and also learn from your own, because oftentimes I have to learn the same lesson about 1,000 times to actually listen to it. That's good. Great advice. So we have to jump in real quick, 60 seconds for a shout out to our sponsor. But when we come back, I'm curious. When I asked before, leading into this, of a life lesson that had a big impact on you, you said seeing my thought energy in a picture. And
Right.
I'm curious as to what you mean by that, seeing my thought energy in a picture. I want to dive in more and understand more of what you mean in that part of life. We'll talk about that in 60 seconds.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Okay, so seeing your thought energy in a picture. Talk about that. What does that mean?
Speaking about a wow, this was probably the most life-changing experience of my entire life. And when I say about in a picture, it really was in a Polaroid picture. And it was taken with a special camera that you could see your energy based on your thoughts at the moment. So when my mentor, Dr. Agnes Krawick, and she's made her transition now, but she's just one of the most amazing people I've ever met. And I just love her, and I love how curious she was. And she used to do Kirlian photography. And so she took my picture one day.
She was
I'd
doing,
gone
did
to
you
see
say
her with a friend.
curling photography?
Kirlian, Kirlian.
What does that mean?
It's named after the person who invented it, who
Okay, what is
discovered
it?
It's a camera with a step-up transformer in it that takes a picture of your subconscious thoughts, of your energy.
Whoa.
So what Dr. Krawick would do is she would have you think a happy thought, and then she would press the button. And you don't have to wait till the person actually forms the thought, because your subconscious picks it up right away, right? And it's the most dominant. So then she would say, now what's your first thought was a normal everyday thought. Your second thought was a happy thought. And she'd press the button and take 4 different exposures. And then she would ask you to think a frustrating thought or a thought that made you angry. And you can feel the shift in the energy as soon as she says it.
Sure.
Because you pick up on it, right? And then your last thought was a perfect thought. So your God thought, your spiritual thought, whatever was perfect for you. And then she would pull, the old Polaroid, she'd pull it out and it would develop in that minute. And then you'd look at it. Well, when I saw my energy and my thoughts in picture form, Rob, I was appalled. Appalled. This is, many, many years ago now. And I knew that I had to make some changes in my life, because at that point, things weren't going very well in my life. I wasn't a very happy person. And I knew that I had to make some changes. It was right there in front of me. And I thought, if this is what my energy looks like, who wants to be around someone with that energy? Yeah. I don't even want to be around me. So I became so curious and enthralled with Kirlian photography that I actually became a Kirlian photographer. And I've done hundreds and hundreds of pictures. And I do teach and show the pictures when I do trainings, sales trainings, and when I speak as a keynote, because I think it's life altering for people. It was for me. And I'm really proud to say that now my pictures wouldn't look like that. But then they did. And there's a whole lot more to it, but that's basically what it was. And I ended up working with Dr. Krawick quite a bit, and very, very few people ever got the opportunity to do that. So she was my mentor, and it was an honor. And that was pretty amazing.
Very interesting. And, to anybody who thinks that sounds crazy, well, just think different thoughts. Think a really, really good thought, and you can feel it in your body. You can just feel how it feels. Think a really bad thought. You can feel it in your body. You can see how that feels. Clearly, maybe not clearly to everybody, but clearly to me, we're spiritual beings living a physical experience. And so there are things that we can't see that are happening, right? So when you're thinking those negative thoughts, you are putting out something. Our thoughts have energy. Clearly, it's I don't know. To me, it's so obvious that I don't need to really state it, but I feel like for some people listening, being able to state that and just grab the concept that if you feel a certain way, you're giving off. I try to avoid to use the word vibes because I can't stand that word, but we're giving off something that other people can pick up on, whether they realize it or not. So it's very interesting that there's photography I've never heard of that. That's really interesting. So, okay, you see yourself and you don't like what you see in those photos. What did you have to do to change the way you showed up in those photos?
Oh, I had to have a complete mindset change. I had to start looking at life differently. I had to start looking for what was good in life instead of focusing on what wasn't. The woe is me. There's way too much woe is me goes on. There is always someone worse off than you and always someone better. I say get used to it. So when you look for the good stuff, energy, we all know from science, like attracts like, right? Like attracts like. So it just makes sense. So if you're in a relationship that isn't a good one, and you've had 20 relationships like this, you got to go and look in the mirror and go, okay, I'm not deliberately doing this. So what do I need to change in me to make my life better? Don't worry about making the other person's life better. Start with yourself. We have to start with ourselves. We're all works in progress. None of us are going to be perfect. We're all going to have, like I said, our pity parties. Let's make them little mini pity parties.
Mini pity.
And yeah, mini pitties. And let's look for what we can control. And what can we control, Rob? Our thoughts. We can
Mhm.
control how we think and how we respond and how we react.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We
Think,
don't.
feel, choose, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And so somebody will say, I can't control my thoughts. I can't control the way that I think. And this is what this is what I used to think. I was like, I can't control the way that I think. But what I did realize was I can replace the thoughts that are automatically coming to me. And over time, they're going to change, right? So if I have a judgmental thought towards somebody, I can choose in that moment, no, I'm not going to accept that thought. I'm going to replace it with a better thought, with a good thought of that person. And those are the building blocks to changing the way that you think, because I struggle with this for a long time of like, I want to think better of many different things, but I don't. Automatically, I don't. But I can choose, once I have the automatic thought, to replace that with a better thought. And over time, that begins to change that process. But it's a constant journey, at least for me, that I had to go through in my own mind, that I'm still going through. I think we're all still going through it. Would you subscribe to that method of that transformation, or how did that happen for you?
1,000%. I agree. Abraham Hicks says, uh, that if you think that thought, if that's not what you want, well, what do you want? We have to know what we don't want so we can choose what we do.
Yeah.
As Abraham Hicks says, it's contrast. But contrast doesn't have to be bad. Contrast can be, do I wear this black jacket today or should I have worn the pink one? Well, I chose the black one. Okay. Should I have the blue coffee cup or do I want the one with polka dots? So we can choose what we want. It is that simple. And like you say, we think something of someone. Well, we can stop and go, you know what? Maybe that person is having a really bad time. You know what? Instead of me thinking badly of them, I'm going to just send them balls of loving light. I'm just going to send it out there to God, spirit, the universe, and just say, please help that person. Help that person have a wonderful day and a wonderful life.
Mm-hmm.
We've done more good for that person than worrying about them just by sending that out. And the more we do that, the more it will, as you say, become more automatic. We're still going to have some contrast.
Mm-hmm.
We're still going to be in situations once in a while, often, where we need to make those choices. And when we are focused on making the better choice, I say 9 times out of 10, we're going to do it.
Absolutely. It's going to become, it's the self-awareness. The more you put the change in, the more aware you become that more change needs to be made. So when it happens again, you're going to, instead of it being an automatic thing, now you're going to notice like, oh, I didn't want to think that. No, I don't like the way that I feel right now. We need to do something about that. I have a friend I was just talking to yesterday, and he was going through a divorce, and his soon-to-be ex-wife is dating somebody new, and he's like, and I said, you gotta, exactly what you were just saying. I'm like, you gotta pray for this guy. Like, you need, because he's cursing him, right? He's just like mad this is happening, and he doesn't want to be around the guy, or even like, he doesn't want to think any good thoughts about him. And I'm like, listen, man, I know that you don't want to do this, but this is what you have to do. You gotta send that guy blessings. You gotta pray good things happen to him in his life. What you need to do. It's like, it's the thing that we don't want to do. That is, especially with people in our life that are the most difficult, the people in our life that we have a constant running mental chatter about them. This is usually parents or somebody in your life who at a younger age really cause you a lot of grief or whatever it might be. You'll run a mental game with them constantly. And instead of like constantly beating yourself up or beating them up in your head, flip it. And that's where that real change comes from. So when you're working with people, how does this work? When you're inviting somebody to live in wonder, openness, and wisdom, the wow of life, obviously this is probably a part of the process, but what are other parts of the process that you help walk them through?
Well, one of the things is by writing the anthologies and working with people on getting their stories out in their own words, and then helping them share that with other people. So I really believe we learn from stories. Storytelling is important, and it's the way the story is told that resonates with people. And so I believe that, that is one way. I do a lot to do with mindset and shifting in how we think. And I do that in my sales training, just everything that one of the things I say in one of my trainings is it really is all about you, because people say, oh, it's not all about you. You know what? It is. It is, because it starts here. It starts in your heart. It starts in your head. So it really is all about you. And you get to make that shift in whatever you're doing. So that's kind of the crux of most of what I do, is helping people find different ways to do that.
Yeah, and when we say it's all about you, it's like it's all about the choices, because you have you are allowed to have the decision. You can choose, and so I can choose to be resistant of the rest of humanity and of myself, or I can choose to be accepting of humanity and myself, and that choice, and also the choice too of selflessness. It's like being selfless starts with you being selfish. I need to be selfish enough to make the right to change myself, to make the right choices, so I can be more selfless. It's almost like what's this? I love when people talk about humility. Humility is not thinking less of yourself; it's thinking of yourself less, right? And I love that, and that takes a lot of work on ourself to be able to do that.
Exactly. And accepting, Rob, I believe, and I think this is a clarification that needs to be made, is accepting does not mean condoning.
Yeah.
So just because we accept something or we forgive someone, it doesn't mean we condone their behavior. What it means is we choose to look towards something we want instead of what we don't. So I think that's very important to just distinguish that, because perhaps listeners might be going, well, I can't accept that because that was harmful to so and so, and it was harmful to me, or it's harmful to society. I get that, and there is a lot of harmful things out there, but the less we focus on them, the less they will be in our environment, the less they will be in our little orbit. Because really, for as many people as there is on the planet, there's a different world. We all live in our own little world. So in our little orbit, if we want to have less of what we don't like, we need to stop exposing ourselves to it. Just stop it.
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done.
It certainly is. Something just came to me in my head as you were talking about this. So in our house, we always have things that we walk past a million times and don't do anything about. And so, at least I do. And so in my backyard, there's been these patches of grass that need fixed. And so for the past, summer, I'll walk by them and be like, oh, I got to really fix that dead patch of grass. And I'll do it like a million times until I finally decide to do something about it. And then when I do something about it, which is me, it's me doing something, whatever. So it's me fixing whatever's going on inside of me. Once I fix it, then I look at it with such admiration. Now I can't, like, it's before it wasn't fixed. I couldn't stop looking at it because it was like this disappointment. And now that it's fixed, I look at it with this like adulation, like, oh, amazing. It looks so nice. But both times I can't stop looking at it. But one of them is me. One of those is negative and like putting myself down. Another one is positive and building myself up. But it comes down to the action, right? And that action, I think I'm circling this back to what you were just saying, but that action starts within you of making choices. I always think of your 5-foot world. I can't change people. I can't change the world or politics or whatever the heck's going on. But I can change my 5-foot world, which starts with me. I do have impact on the things that I physically can be in contact with. So that's something that just came to me as you were talking. And does that apply to you?
Oh, yes, I think it applies to all of us. But I think, again, we have to start looking at things instead of, oh, I have to fix that grass. It's just such an eyesore to, I get to fix that grass one of these days. I get to do that. I get to do it.
I like
Now,
that.
I may not get to do it today,
Yeah.
but I'm going to get to do it.
I'm just building the
The
anticipation.
vibration shifts.
Yeah. I love that. That's good, Debora. That's really good. Okay, so as we're coming near the end of this episode, I want people to have an opportunity to check you out. So you're going to be hosting live events for WOW. So if you're watching this, you can see it on the screen right now. If you're listening, you can go to a bit.ly page. It's bit.ly. We all know what the bit.ly pages are, /2024 WOW event. It's bit.ly/2024 WOW event. What can they expect from this event coming up?
Oh, this is going to be so good. And it's live here where I live, but it's also going to be virtual. So people can get tickets for either one. The speakers, the speaker lineup is just amazing. One of the speakers is a 2-time TEDx speaker. She's had a documentary made of her life that's had over 10 million views on Goalcast. And another one is, and these women are authors in my book, Live Life in WOW, in the first anthology. And one is a cancer, we like to call her a thriver because she's not just a survivor. And she had 2 cancer diagnoses within 39 days.
Wow.
So, and she's young. So it was amazing. And another one that we have speaking is a psychic artist. And her story is amazing because when she got the word that she was going to be a psychic artist, she went, "What's a psychic artist?"
I think that's what
so
most
again,
most
listening
say
to
that.
this stuff. Yeah. And then we have another gal that's going to be speaking on addictions, and not just addictions of the usual kind, but all sorts of addictions of the mind. So there's some really, really interesting speakers, and we're going to have draws and prizes and lots of laughs. So it's going to be a good day.
Lots of wow moments, I'm sure.
Lots.
I love what you said. They're not a survivor, but a thriver. So I don't call myself a survivor. I call myself a thriver. That's a great statement in itself. That's a takeaway I'm taking from this episode. So make sure you guys check that out. bit.ly/2024 WOW event. And listen, if you're checking this out right now and you want to become the authority in your space, you want to be the expert in your industry, I want to help you create the content, the platform, the podcast that makes you the expert in your industry, bringing you incredible connections into your life, bringing you leads and relationships and business that you never could have imagined before by creating your own platform, talking about the thing that you are the authority in. If that sounds like something that's exciting to you, that's interesting to you, check out Rob W. or Rob, check out robzwentz.com. That's the website, robzwentz.com. Debora, this has been an awesome conversation. Anything you want to leave the audience with? Anything you want to wow them with before we sign off?
I would love for them to check out the event. I'm also have offers open for the next anthology, the second book in the series, which will be Live Life in WOW, Pearls of Wonder, Openness, and Wisdom. So if you do want to be a writer and want some help, we help you every step of the way. And this event is going to be great. And we hope that it's going to start a movement. That's the whole goal of this, is to start a movement to help people feel better. And thank you, Rob, for having me as your guest. This has been lots of fun. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Well, from one movement to another, this has been the Unstuck movement, another true testimony of breakthrough.